a very common question like that gets asked of actors a lot is like, is there ways in which you relate to Eileen, which I find quite a funny question in this context, because I really hope I'm not similar to Eileen in many ways, and there are ways that I relate to her and like, but not quite so as extreme as they were like kind of coming up for Eileen. But yeah, she's just, I think I relate to her in her loneliness, the loneliness that she was feeling, and the loneliness that I think everybody feels, and that desire to feel loved and to deserve to be loved, and just trying to make the best out of not a great situation. So that's kind of, that's how I feel about her, just like someone who needs a big hug.
And Rebecca wants to hug her. So I love the movie. I loved the script. I love the book. And for me, this is a film about triggers, and among other things. So Rebecca, to me, represents a woman who is undeniably brilliant, living during a moment in history where it's quite dangerous to be a brilliant woman openly. And what we all kind of were going for was, how would a brilliant woman both protect and empower herself in that time? And so that's where a lot of the glamour comes in, because she's able to allow people to think what they want while keeping her private, fairly intense self private. But throughout the course of the movie, that inner life blooms, it gets triggered, and it comes out with some pretty extreme results. Yes. I'm just very happy that when I entered this phase of my life, there was a fantastic role that was my own destiny waiting for me. And that hasn't always been the case for some really, really extraordinary actresses who have hit this point in their career or in their lives, and the work just wasn't there. And so I'm just really hopeful and desirous and determined that those sort of opportunities should be available for everybody. It's such an exciting time because we're all really interested in conversations about representation, and we're all really interested, and I think probably pretty angry at the lack that our history has had. And I think we're all really motivated to find each other and to create opportunities for everybody, and to keep going, and to hopefully keep this art form alive and relevant.
Well, when I wrote Eileen, the novel, it was really influenced by Hitchcock's adaptation of the novel, Rebecca. Yeah. So there was already this novelization of something that was already cinematic. And I knew that Eileen was going to be someone who felt really rooted in an honest and intimate reality. And she was the storyteller in the novel. So when it came to the movie, we knew that Rebecca had to be larger than life. And I don't know if we were necessarily thinking Hitchcock, even though the movie is super suspenseful, and is kind of that sort of in that classic tradition of, is it noir, is it a thriller, and it's also really psychological. And Rebecca sort of sweeps in and carries Eileen and the viewer away into something that gets really kind of sticky.
Sticky's a good word for it. I like
wow, that's a nice evocative
sticky,
word.
Strange.
Yeah. These three all sort of were talking about how incredible it was that you were able to internalize this first-person book and just have it all in your eyes and in your performance without like a monologue or exposition. How do you do that?
I was very, very lucky that I had the book available to me to work with. I think part of the reason I did the film in the first place, because I was already a fan of Ottessa. I'd read My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and I'm reading another one of Ottessa's books right now. So she's got a big fan here, and in each of them, her writing goes so deeply into that character's inner monologue, and that was just gold for me, because it gave me so much material to work with to really understand what it was like being in Eileen's head. I don't know, I think I've always been like a bit of a stiller actor, and I'm trying to feel more comfortable to be a bit more fluid and a little bit bigger these days. But in this situation, playing Eileen, it really worked because she is such an observer, and I think she's a bit too scared to make any big movements, so it kind of all does have to be in the eyes, I suppose.
Tell me how you got the Boston accent.
Oh, it's a lot of
Boston
work.
Accent, yeah.
I was really worried about that one because I know you're from Massachusetts.
I am, yeah.
And so, like, I was just scared that I was going to get it wrong. I didn't want to insult a native.
Oh my god.
So I just, hoped that it was going to be good enough. I worked a lot with an accent coach called Mary McDonald-Lewis, who actually coached me for Leave No Trace, the first American accent I ever had to do. Leave No Trace, which also premiered at Sundance 5 years ago now, I think. So yeah, just a lot of hard work, but it was a really, really fun accent, especially the mooth. It's like this weird kind of mooth sound. It's weird.
And Shea, you were saying that you and Thomasin stayed in the accent together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we stayed in. Yeah, I think you did an amazing job on the accent, but you had to stay with it because if not, it becomes an intellectual. You're trying to get the accent as opposed to really being in sync. So you're up here and you're not. But that's why you had to stay with it. So.
And also because, father and daughter, Eileen is going to pick up on Jimmy's ways of, his lilts and dialect and ways of speaking as well. So it was good to be able to bounce off of each other in that way.
Yeah.
And kind of form similar habits, I suppose.
Shea, your character is incredibly complex too. I mean, there are times when I hate him, times when I love him, or not love him, but you sort of get where he's going with things. I mean, tell me about what you think.
Jimmy. Yeah. I mean, when I tend to take on some of these kind of, on the surface, really brutal humans, and I'm always looking. We had long talks about, is there humanity in Jim? And he's doing the best that he can with what the hand that he's been dealt after what's happened. I don't want to give too much away, but the moments before, he's now finds himself in a very lonely place, and unfortunately, Eileen feels the repercussions of this with Jim. But I think he has to mean well. He means well. He just doesn't, like a lot of men back in this time. Sorry, they don't know how to voice. So yeah.
And then finally, just one more. Okay. Obviously, the film looks amazing, but were there any times during the production that you guys just were like, oh, this is an indie film in great or bad ways,
Indie in the sense that we were given a lot of freedom to make the film as we wanted it to be made.
Yeah.
And you don't always get that. So we're grateful to the people who took a risk in financing this film and supporting us all the way. And that, I think, is true independence, that we were able to take risks ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to begin with just us three and start a little production and company at the ground before anyone else came in. So we had total freedom, which is really rare. And then people started coming, angels started coming, and it just was amazing.
All these randoms turned up from
Yeah.
around the world.
I don't know if it's an independent film, but just building off of what you just said about having the freedom and being a part of that freedom. I can't talk about the scene just yet, but it's something that happens at the end. And it's a scene between me, Thomasin, and another actress. And we're doing something. And I had a moment where, from within the scene, I left my body and observed it as an audience member and went, I have never seen this movie before. This is something completely new. I've never seen characters behave like these characters behave this way. And I remember thinking that it was an independent streak. I was happy for it.